We should have held this meeting at the $1 Million Saloon.
I think that's where we were. Jimmy is actually locked in the champagne glass.
Is that still open?
Wait, I
The
want to
$1 Million
wait.
Saloon is, yeah.
I want to know, does Candy still work there?
She's still looking for you. You stiffed her a tip.
I still get Christmas cards.
How you guys doing? Everything good?
Everything is. You know, can I tell you something? It's sort of scary, but I haven't seen you guys in 20-something years. Right, Harry? Yeah. It was 20 years ago when I saw you guys, right?
Right by. It was my 50th birthday.
Oh yeah, 2006.
What happened to your mustache, Pete?
Oh, it's been gone a long time.
Do you still have the Jensen Interceptor?
No, I don't have the Jensen Interceptor.
What the hell's going on? You got married? You don't have the mustache.
Everything.
The next step, you're gonna have a fucking Greek restaurant.
You know what? Harry's got one. I might as well join.
I'm gonna join him in now that we're out of the food business.
Oh,
Jimmy,
God.
the beaver coats will be ready in a week.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I was thinking about. Remember that we had that dinner at Mulivos?
Yeah.
That Greek restaurant?
Yeah.
And I told this to Scott a while ago, I don't know, about 2 months ago. We were sitting there, and then Lenny Austin's wife got sick, and I was sitting across from a guy that worked for our company, and he wanted to play footsie with me. And I says, I grabbed my leg so fast, I think I almost broke his leg. And he was not a happy guy.
I think you were always the cutest one of the buying team.
And he had the longest legs.
And believe it or not, I spoke to Lenny Austin yesterday.
Now, is he retired? Is he retired, Harry? He's taking pictures.
Well.
He's taking pictures of the world.
Yeah. No,
did his father-in-law die? And
they've collected.
Oh yeah.
The empire of cheap clothing.
Yeah. My ass never bled for him when I went into that warehouse, and you see there's a fucking yacht in the garage. He had the shittiest furs, and believe me, I know. I was his agent.
No kidding. I'm still buying them on liquidation. They're only.
If you look in the pocket, if you open up the handkerchief pocket on the inside, you're gonna see a label that says Amarella Furs, number 1,804,000. He had those little Chinese people writing these little tags and everything. And I couldn't even, my fingers were too big to even open up the pockets, you know? But he's for you fellas. I'm gonna let my boss, Scott, take over.
Let me jump in for a second.
Harry.
Wait, I don't hear you now.
All right, let me try and take a little bit of control for a second here, because you guys are all getting ahead of me. So okay, so let me back us up and do a proper intro here, and then we'll jump back into this, because this was getting interesting already. So hi everybody, thank you for joining us again today for another episode of the Companion Podcast in support of the film Skin on Skin: The Rise and Fall of the World's Largest Furrier, Part 2. Larry Becker's here with me again today. Jim Leitz is here with me again today. And we got a couple of great guests digging into it's like going into the old vintage bin at the record store. A couple of guys who are manufacturers up in Toronto for Evans at HSG Furs, Peter and Harry Papadopoulos. Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, great place to start is, and then we'll jump back into all those stories now that I've gained a little semblance of control, but I know with Larry here, we'll get carried away again real soon. Would you guys just tell us a little bit about you guys and your family and how you got into the fur business and your dad and all that fun stuff, and working up into how you met Evans and people from Evans and everything?
My dad was in the fur business in Toronto, actually, when he moved from Greece as an immigrant. He was from Castoria, so all his buddies, he wasn't a furrier back in Greece, but all his buddies here were furriers, so he was looking for a job like any immigrant. And they said, well, come work with us in the fur business. He started as a floor boy. He was 39 years old, so he was a young, an older floor boy.
He was a floor man.
Yeah, he was a floor man. And then, you know, he worked for 15, 16 years. Then he decided to venture out on his own. And then me and my trying to help him, I got into the wholesale business and made the mistake of sending someone to Chicago who met some buyers from Evans, and the rest is history. Peter, my younger brother, he joined us, and we ended up running a sizable business, not of the biggest businesses of the day, but we were mainly in the beaver business, which we enjoyed, and we continue to enjoy the beaver business.
So tell us about When Are We, please, and then what's the state of the fur industry as a whole at this time?
We probably I didn't start in the business till about 1983, so it was probably about 3 years later. 83, 87.
What is that?
When we started doing business with Evans.
No, Evans, I don't think. Initially, we started manufacturing and sold almost exclusively to Japan. Japan was a monster market at that time and through the 80s. Evans, I think we started our first business 1985 when we started to look at the American market. And Harry's right. We sent down a representative, Jan Hope Burke, who met, I think, Larry and Jimmy. So you and Jimmy met Jan. She got us in the door, and then sort of the rest is history. We built a big business with Evans. I think we did up to over $1 million Canadian a year
US.
At our peak, or US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that was our story with Evans, and we did business right through the 90s, right until they went broke.
And tell me about that. Did you have any trouble with them getting paid?
We probably lost some money at the end, but they'd never been a problem paying.
No,
they were like a great account. I never had it. They were cheap as fuck. Pardon my language, but no, we never had a problem getting paid, except the last little kick at the can after the conspiracy knocked them out of business.
So, okay, so let me go back and let's talk about some of the people, and tell me those that you've met and any reminiscences and impressions of
We
them.
actually, we probably came to Evans, I think, at a great time, in that the old guard was still working there, and then the new guard, which we'll call Jimmy and.
So the old guard meaning who? Meaning who, Harry?
Oh, I mean, we met people like Randy Garfield. We met people like who's the guy? Pete, do you remember? He was in charge of Washington. Who was in charge of the Washington area? Al Jones.
That was Garfinkel. Randy.
Yeah, Randy was Garfinkel's, but Jonas. What was his first?
Ed Jonas had Garfinkel's. Yep.
Ed Jonas, and then we, of course, I got to know David very well, especially near the bankruptcy time, because we worked closely with him. Because in a new iteration of a business I had, we ended up buying all the independent stores from Evans pre-bankruptcy, which was kind of strange, and I still own most of them. And then
Robert
Meltzer, Barry Novick, Meltzer Jr.,
Sharon Bass,
So
Charlie Neoglius.
Just tell me about dealing with some of those names that you mentioned, because these are the people that were trained by the old guard, by A.L. Meltzer.
I mean, they were all characters, but pretty commensurate people in the fur business. They knew what they were looking at. They weren't like, oh, I'm a manager, I don't know what I'm looking at, like you get now, or if there was anybody big left now. They, a guy like Randy Garfield would crack you up. How did I forget Fred Handel, who was a champion, and of course Larry's dad, Paul, was exceptional. I think we learned more from those guys than we learned from by ourselves in the fur business. We learned a lot of routines that we still use till this very day. I use a lot.
Are you talking about furs or picking up women?
Both.
Remember, your dad loved Foxy at the film moment.
Do you remember getting thrown out of the were we thrown out of the strip
Jay
club?
Furrier, that was the governor.
I think you guys are talking about negotiating.
He burned the girl's ass with a magnifying glass.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, Scott.
Get back
I'm
to
sorry,
business.
Scott. I
Okay,
told you
this
this
is
would happen.
Scott,
Yep,
we
that's
learned a
okay.
lot from that early team. I think, to be honest, we were very fortunate to work with those people because we learned people that really loved the business and respected the business too. And they were proud to be in the business, whatever area they were, whether it was the New York, Chicago upper management or the guys that were regional. I mean, the first time we ever entertained Evans buying team, Barry Novick, I was speaking to him. I said, "How many chairs do we need?" He goes, "You got to have 19 or 24 chairs." I can't remember. I said,
I told you guys, you better go rent chairs.
You did, Jimmy. You did. And we rented them, and everybody showed up.
Yep.
They, we ate well, we drank well, and they left. And that was it. I didn't even get an order that day. So,
Well, let's just say the food and drinks weren't as good as some of the other guys.
I want to tell you one thing, Scott. Our company was known for the drinks, the food, and the models. We were the top, much better than some of the big companies who were very.
Don't disrespect your brother, because you're also known for your coffee with that cinnamon stick in there.
The cinnamon coffee, you love it.
Yeah.
So I imagine David Meltzer loved your place then, if you had the models.
Oh yeah. No, David, I spent really near the end when he'd come back, and it was during the turmoil of the bankruptcy. He'd come up to Toronto a few times. We'd actually looked at doing something together with another bankruptcy that was happening here before Evans got in trouble. So I had a great deal of respect for him. He's also a storied retail merchant, like he's from an old time. I mean, the guys probably remember. I remember we'd be in an elevator. He'd pull out his little recording machine. Go, what was her name? Patty
Patty K.
To call Sam at 2 p.m.
Yep.
So we had a lot of fun with that. So, like I say, the old guard, the new guard, forget, they were more my contemporary, Peter's contemporary. We became, not only doing business, we became very good friends, as you can sort of tell.
Yeah, I think overall the long-lasting friendships that we got from doing business with Evans was the most important thing, and we always had way too much fun while making money, and it was just fantastic.
We weren't making that much.
It was it was a fantastic era. The 80s and 90s, they weren't sanitized like business today with all the rules and the regulations. We just went out and we had fun, and we did most of our business, and this is not a joke, meeting our buyers at strip clubs across Montreal and Toronto. So that's the way business.
The social clubs, as Larry calls them.
Yeah.
Larry was very.
They had a lot of friends.
Yeah. And
so
we were very consistent.
Go ahead.
We had a personal model for Jimmy. We bring in all the time, Lori. He'd go, "I'm coming. Make sure Lori's there."
Oh yeah, she was good.
So was David up front with you about the situation as things got tough?
Once the I guess the ball was in the open, so to speak. Yeah, he was. We were actually, in the initial efforts we were having, I had a partner who had a substantial amount of money, and we were really talking about me. To be really honest, I wanted to buy the whole business or work with David to buy the business totally. But we ended up buying 5 or 6 of the independent stores that were left, other than the Chicago bunch. So no, David was a businessman. He was, he wasn't emotionally attached to, like, I can sadly say I've gone out of business once in the fur business. And it was a very emotional thing for me. David approached it like an executive, and I mean, he wasn't going to lose his house, but he was good, and we, like I said, we made a great deal in acquiring the stores that we acquired, and we still have the remnants of them now.
Tell me, I'm changing topics, which you'll see I jump around a little bit. A name that keeps coming up in all of these interviews is Lenny Tax. So, did you guys have any dealings with him? What's your impression
Oh,
of him?
he
Who
was my
this
partner.
guy? Why was he always swimming around in all these stories
He was
I'm being told?
He was Peter and I's partner for 25 years, and he just retired a couple of years ago. We have a leftover company that still exists. Lenny was he was the exact opposite of David Meltzer in the sense of proper, kind of executive type. He was like the street brawler, but they both got along excellently. David and him, they could sit around a table all day long.
They were both brilliant men.
Both brilliant men, yeah. So Lenny would be like throwing out ideas, and we often talk with Lenny after the liquidation of Evans and to the people that took over. And I've always reminded Lenny we should have been the buyer because we had the money, but he was always like, "Oh, I don't think we could do it." But he was never a retailer per se. In our subsequent larger business, he became a retail, but he was never a merchant. He was just there, maybe with some financial control and some and money. But him and David got along excellently, and he was always, he was deep in the fur business. Like anybody selling Evans might have been getting financing from Lenny, kind of thing. The fur business of that time and pre our time was a lot of fur merchant banks in New York. Who do we have? What was that guy? That was
Artie Ross.
Manheimer
and Artie Ross.
Yeah, Ross. Then you had the guy.
It was all factoring. The fur business was financed on factoring.
Kind of factoring, but it was fur factoring, right? Like, okay. Yeah. And the guy Merzbacher in Europe. I mean, all the guys in New York, for the most part, were getting financed by those type of operations versus a classic bank scenario, right? So they were both probably more difficult to deal with, but at the same time, they knew the business, as opposed to a bank that says, "Oh, we're calling the loan." You're telling them, "Well, wait a week. I'm going to get $1 million order," and they're like, "Nope." So Lenny was in that realm of the back end of the fur business. He was a big skin dealer also,
and Tommy Knuckles was also very big.
Well, because he worked though through Merzbacher at that time, so he would do stuff for people, but it was all Merzbacher money. Who did that with Tommy? But there was a lot of brilliant people.
But these are people, Lenny. Even the BC guy, like even you guys, all you people who would take assets of others, still believed enough in what was going on at a time when the industry was facing difficult times.
No, it would be, we would get financing for, there was a company, Silberman Furs, that were like 100 years old by the time we were getting merchandise from them, but they would finance the merchandise.
Yeah.
Right? They wouldn't say, "Oh, I got to get paid in 60 days. That'd be, all right, pay me my price and you can pay me in 180 days. Because at that time, the fur business, for the most part, wasn't, okay, I'm delivering on Tuesday, pay me on Friday. It was like, I'm delivering on Tuesday, July the 5th, pay me November the 1st. So you had to carry the goods, and hopefully you got paid. Evans always paid. I don't remember a time.
Yeah, Evans always paid.
Pete, and we had, what was the guy who's in charge of
Sultan Abdurasul.
Yeah. Sultan Abdurasul.
Yep.
You remember him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He had the Coke bottle glasses, Jimmy. You remember him?
Oh yeah. I don't know how he could even see they were so thick.
He would hold up a memo and get a paper cut on his face because those glasses would touch that paper.
And he still afforded, but he was great. I used to pick up checks sometimes in Chicago, 250,000, 300,000. I mean, it was.
Well, fantastic. I tell you something. I could tell you stories about Sultan. I think that I may have shared with you, Scott. He saved the Evans Fur Company
for a long time.
A lot of money. A
Really?
lot of money. There was a vendor in Korea that used to, not used to. He did it one time because he was leaving. He shipped a box of rocks.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, and there was a signed inspection certificate. And Sultan, I don't know, for some reason, he contacted me in Hong Kong, and he says to me, "Did you approve a shipment from JC Shin?" And I said, "No, the merchandise was not accepted." I said, I'm going back for an inspection. And he goes, "There's a shipment right now in customs." And he said, "It looks suspicious." And it turned out, like I said, it was a box of rocks.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, he did that a lot. He did that a lot.
He was a great accounting person. I mean,
yes,
he was call him for something. Hey, let me look what we can do. And when you come in 10 days, then you got paid by check.
They were very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, but remember, he was really just a clerk. The orders were coming from Pat Regan.
Pat Regan.
And I forget, you asked Scott, who else did we work with? I worked with Sam.
Sam Garber.
What was Sam Garber?
Yeah, that's not a good sign when a manufacturer has to work with Sam Garber, the corporate counsel.
Yeah, Sam and Lenny used to talk a lot when we were buying.
I'll bet.
Because he was ending up to be president before we really closed. But Sam Garber was in charge.
Right. Oh yeah, he was the go-to man. But anyway, as we talk, Scott, these old memories. My memory is shot. Peter is my memory. Like I asked Peter, you see, I'll ask him a question. You remember?
That's why I love doing this. So, Jimmy, this is like one of those situations that you've described where you go into these guys these guys even said it earlier, with 19 people and buy, and it's a day of fucking chaos trying to buy all day long. And then you got to go back with Freddie and all and figure this shit out and whittle it down to get them a real order to be able to do business with these guys.
Yeah, the first time we went there, I said, you better rent 30 chairs because we're going to fill your showroom. The showroom almost wasn't big enough for the models to walk through. There was so many people, and everybody's jumping around and looking at this and talking.
That was intimidating because we'd never seen a crowd like this, to be honest. I mean,
it was like a circus.
Yeah. I mean, once we got rolling, and I mean, Evans was a great customer at that time, we started having a lot of other customers, but they seemed like a piece of cake, like Larry's coming. All right, no problem. Fuck him. We got a chair for him and get some coffee.
I would say, God, this coffee tastes different. And Peter would say it was cinnamon. It was some sort of drug.
It was a very short time he worked for them because they could never find him.
Le Grand Hotel, 45 La Croisette, Caen, France.
We're here to build a business with you and to make you money.
Today, friends, we're doing another one of our deeper dives.
My father was, he could be a total asshole to people.
Oh, we got to find this. You guys got to do it right now. I forgot about this. And he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
Go in for higher price lines. Attract new and better customers and be unafraid.
I spent 43 years in the industry because I made a lot of friends.
I didn't know that, right? 22, 23 years old. I'm like, no, I'm not taking it back.
These stories today certainly are influenced and totally affected by the Evans Fur Company.
I was after inventory, and there's like $250,000 worth of merchandise missing.
I'm actually weaving a tapestry, kind of like orchestrally, in with my guitars. They're all building and changing.
So he was an assistant, and he put the keys on the table, and he walked out and said, I'm out of here. I'm not coming back.
skill set is really going down. Like let out garments are almost impossible to make in Greece.
I was giving them an opportunity to buy from me.
Skin on Skin, The Rise and Fall of the World's Largest Furrier, Part 3.
Listen, one thing about the old Furriers, forget Evans, go back. The guys that were the kings in New York then, they were wealthy guys. Yeah. They were, and I did business with most of them, on a jobbing basis. They give me an order, then I'd sell it for $1,000. They'd sell it for like $1,900 to a department store that were paying the buyer off.
Well, yeah, because they would put their label in it.
Right.
Made in America.
That's right. We had Manny Mole. You had Michael Ford. You had all these guys. They were like,
they'd made a fortune.
They were also special individuals. I mean, I'll be honest, Scott, I learned so much in the fur business of that day. Today, I mean, you can run a good fur business. I think we try to run the best we can, but there you had volume of people where Evans had competitors. It wasn't just like one big company running it was like all kinds of people, and the manufacturers were big, and I really learned a lot about business in that time.
Something, you bring up a great point about that time, and the fact that I think the biggest difference was that furs were in fashion. You're naming all of those big producers. They all carried a designer label.
Yeah.
You had designer labels.
Yeah. Well,
Alfred Sung.
We had Alfred Sung. Then we got
Salon Collection.
Yeah.
We sold the bullshit label like Salon Collection. I made a deal with the Hudson Bay Company, which just went broke in Canada.
Yeah.
I made a deal. I said, we have a brand new label, Salon Collection. I said, you got to give me $1 million minimum and it's yours. They go, oh, okay. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you stupid? We were laughing all the way to the door.
Yeah. Well, again, that's good business. Simple as that. That really is. And you lock in your place in their business.
We used to have Alfred Sung. I used to put it on. I used to put Alfred Sung on the Tibetan lamb jacket.
You bastard! We never made them.
He stole a box of labels, 100 labels.
Well, wait a second. Not for nothing. Alfred Sung never designed a fur collection. Wasn't he the guy that ran the Chinese restaurant by your house?
He had the best crispy noodles.
But Larry, think about like where we were in LA, the difference between a label, any label, and what it meant versus not.
True. And that's what I'm saying. The business was supported at that time by the fashion industry.
Both that, and it was a different time in women's minds. And, I mean, fur was the iPhone of the day.
We were buying beaver coats and we called them the Chicago coats.
Right.
The Detroit coat, and it was like a label.
Yeah.
No, it was, I mean, listen, let's face it, business in general is all about demand. So that was the
peak. And as Jimmy's saying, the marketing of it too.
Right. Because it was exclusive. I have to have one. I do personally see a slight trend back to something like that. I see, young girls, very young women in their 24 to 27 year olds.
They're buying used furs, right?
In my range, by the way.
No, but are they buying used furs?
Well, they think they can only, the beauty of the fur business is it still has, I remember we did, because I used to be at the Fur Council of Canada, and we did focus groups during the crisis days, let's call them.
The 90s.
The 90s. And we said, how much do you think a fur coat costs to a group of, 12 focus group? And they'd go, 15,000. We were fucking selling shit for 1800.
Yeah.
But fur still has a perception of expensive. So that's why girls are going to vintage thinking, okay, I'll spend 1,500 on a vintage 1970. I mean, we sell vintage. I'm like, I can tell you for ridiculous prices. They don't know that they can, for 1,500 vintage or 1,500 new, they can buy something very fashionable in today's price point.
But don't you think amongst the young generation, they're concerned? It's like, we're not killing animals; these would dead animals.
Right.
I mean, that's what we saw on the West Coast.
That's okay, but that's gonna flip, right? That's
well,
flip.
you would hope that once they get used to wearing the fur and enjoying the benefits of it, that their next fur could be new, especially when they find out it's not 15,000. See, I sort of think that the generation of today, they don't look at it as luxury. It's not luxurious to them.
Not yet for them, no.
Right. And again, if their perception is it's too expensive for them, they're going to look past it.
However, a bag, a Chanel bag is not too expensive for them at $7,000. And from a common sense point of view, you got to say, I wish we could go backwards and say, okay, a fur coat a mink coat was truly $5,000 in the day.
Yeah.
Nice mink coat. How much was a Chanel bag? I'm just curious. Right?
At that time?
Yeah.
Oh, you're probably talking about 500, and it's now 3,500.
Right. And it's flipped. Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I asked this to everybody. So and this is before your guys' time in the industry, most of our time in the industry, but did the drive to change things from that luxurious thing that was kind of for movie stars and rich people to it's for the masses? Did that change? Did that ruin things? Did that cheapen things?
A little bit. I don't think it was like an anathema, because the high-end stuff stayed expensive. Whereas I think if I look at it, like I own a business in Toronto here that's been in business since 1880. So I have archives of ads, right? So 1945. Genuine mink coat, $1,200.
And that's a load of money back then.
A lot of money.
A house cost $1,200 at that time.
Then you could buy a house for $1,200.
Yeah.
Genuine sable coat or marten coat, whatever, $3,500.
Jesus.
That was massive money. In the meantime, they had $88, American broadtail, or 88 to 158. They had a lot of fur, and from those, if you watch the old videos at the time, in the 40s to the middle 50s, women were wearing fur as an everyday item. That's what we're missing today.
Well, the luxury of that $1,200 or $3,500 piece, it translates to fur, and the woman can be wearing that stole and feel that she's in the same category.
Right, yeah. Larry, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was all about marketing. And, there was a letter, Scott, the letter from A.L. Meltzer that was right before the crash or whatever, and he was just talking about how everybody, all the competitors are going to be fighting each other and reducing prices on furs because we're going to be in a recession and people aren't going to have money. And A.L. Meltzer's view was, what we have to do is we have to not look to lose money, drop the price and lose profit. We need to now promote the better market. You know what I mean? And take that coat, instead of going from $9.99 to $6.99, we go from $9.99 and promote a coat for $17.99.
I think it's indicative, just so, because Peter and I are in the business actively today. What are the 3 hottest selling things selling globally? Because now the fur business is also a global business, right?
Yeah.
Globally, Russian sable, chinchilla, and lynx belly coats.
The most expensive, luxurious furs to be offered.
And you can't get the raw material. You can, there's a huge demand because it only needs 20,000 people to want to buy those coats. That's
Yeah.
it. There's no more production. And those people that are buying coats, mainly Russians and Ukrainians, believe it or not, which is,
Yeah.
given their Ukraine's in the middle of a war, the Ukrainians are still buying the most expensive coats because they're skimming off the top.
Right. All around the world, you have the 1%ers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even in the U.S., even here, I can say in Toronto in the last 6 months, I've mainly been, not mainly, but I've sold a lot more sables, chinchillas, lynxes to young customers. Not, before the customer would build up, start with a fox jacket for $1,000, and then after 15, 20 years, she would buy the mink coat for $10,000.
Right. So they build a collection.
They go straight to the top now. A lot of these customers, they just go, "Oh, I saw this lynx cat. How much is it? Oh, it's $18,000. Okay, I'll take it." Because fur is cheap compared to everything else. Look at watches, look at bags, look at clothes.
Well, you brought it up before. Fur has not changed dramatically in price.
No,
I was in the fur business in the industry for 43 years. When I entered in 1977, a good mink coat was about $7,500.
Right.
Wow.
When I left in 2020, a good mink coat was about $7,500.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, sadly, it was the same coat because nobody bought it in the 20 years.
Listen, I got 3 horseshoes left in my inventory from 1983.
The horseshoe sleeve.
I want one of the ski jackets. You came up with the first Zuki jacket.
So what's the state of the business in Canada now compared to the U.S.?
Well, I think the U.S. is a better retail business, having experience with retail stores here and in the U.S.
Yeah, Canada's terrible.
Canada is not nowhere near as good. I thought the U.S. has a lot of advantages. African American customers critical to the business. They love fur. They crave fur still.
Yep, they've supported the industry forever.
Yeah, and they want it. I go down and I'll work events for our business down there, and I sell a coat to a lady, and she puts it on, and she starts spinning, and thank you, Jesus, and I'm so happy. You don't see that in the white customer anymore. Be honest. In the Italian customer, the Jewish, they used to dance like that when they finally get a coat too. But now it's like they've lost the lust for the product, right? The African-American customer just loves the product.
Yep.
Just loves it. And so they've held on, I think, through the U.S. And we're seeing a change now because we've got stores like, we have the old Evans store in Phoenix. We had the Coslow stores in Dallas. We had the DC stores. What else do we have of Evans? I'm trying to think. Anyway, all those stores were all different too, which I think it took a great deal of management and common sense on the buying side, right? So now, I also met Mike Ortiz, who's one of the best salespeople ever in the world.
Texas? That was Texas?
Yep. Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like a magician, right? He would say anything to sell a coat, but he knew how to do it well. So I'm just saying it's different. So I think the U.S. is better and probably poised for a really good run in the next 5 years. I think the fur business will be excellent.
I'm coming out of retirement. That's it. I'm making my announcement.
We may find a store for you. and then Canada is a more conservative country. I mean, you see in our political tribulations we're currently having with America, it's a more conservative place. It's not as flashy. We're missing an African American type customer, but I think it's coming back too. I see. Like I said, I see younger women, affluent. There's a difference too. Younger women in the 80s when we were selling fur, their dad was bringing them in, buying them a fox jacket for $600, for a birthday or something. We don't see that anymore. But those were my first customers, right? Like they'd be bringing in their daughter $600. She'd be back in 2 years, buy the raccoon for $1,100. 2 more years, buy something else, and she's still a customer. Once a woman becomes a fur customer, I don't think she says, "Oh, forget it, I'm never wearing a fur again." You know. And now I'm seeing like even 70-year-old women coming in and spending serious money on nice coats because they've got so much money, right? They're at the stage in life where money's like a novelty.
Right.
Would you give them my number,
I
huh?
want now.
I've got a little spinner for you. She bought 5 pieces this year: a sable, a lynx, a chinchilla, and she every time she comes in, she buys something. I'm like, you know, this
I
is
used to have customers like that in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. They just come in and they have nothing to do with their money. And the 1%, as you said earlier,
Yeah.
it's a big 1%. And the other beauty of fur retail business is we don't need a lot of customers. We're not the Gap.
Exactly.
We don't have to sell 50,000 T-shirts a week. We need to sell, like, depending on your store, 10 fine pieces a week. You've made plenty of money for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Tell
I think
me
that's why.
Go ahead, finish, Harry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why you see now brands that said we're not going to be in fur anymore bringing fur back because they're missing it.
Well, because they're very fickle, the designers. They're going to follow the times. You know, they want to look. It's just like how California ended up voting to ban the sale of new furs. It's like, what sense does that make? And then if fur comes back, I guarantee you, they're going to give a tax benefit for people to open up fur businesses.
That's right.
Yeah, you know?
I can tell you, though, the logic in the high-end designer business is, okay, Gucci gave up furs. Now, Gucci sales in the last quarter, you know, they're a public company, were down 20% overall sales. They weren't selling fur in that quarter. Some guy up top is like, why were we so much ahead 18 months ago? Well, you know, the furs we were selling, we did 70 million of furs. He goes, and why aren't we selling them now? He's like,
well, was it the same thing like Evans? It's one thing to sell 70 million. You have to make money. You have to make a profit on it.
Okay, but Gucci was making a ridiculous profit.
Right.
Harry,
you have to make money.
You think, Harry, that some of the designers are going to come back now?
Huge. I think it's going to happen. First, they're all selling shearling. So, I mean, they're hypocrites beyond compare. Yeah. Secondly, they're definitely, because, hey, at the end of the day, any brand, let's call it any global brand, is owned by a financial machine, not by some little Harry and Peter's salon collection.
Right, the Herman Seller Golf.
Lord Grosvenor.
Now, what do you think about department stores that all of a sudden just decided no?
Terrible. But now all the department stores are going out of business, right? Look, the HBC just closed here. I was trying, and
by the way, Scott, we were the licensees at the Hudson's Bay Company from about 1997 until 2007.
Wow.
And you think about Hudson Bay Company, I mean, their association with fur started with the auction houses, right?
Yeah, well, that's what's amazing to me. So tell me, just since you guys are Canadians, and like as far as the fur industry goes, that's like a staple of everything that our industry stands for. So that hits hard, losing. And I know they've changed and they turned into a crappy department store and everything, but
we were there for a long time as a licensee. So the guys were also in department stores at Evans. When we were in there at 2000, I'd say to Peter, these guys are going to go out of business. It's so badly run, such a badly run business, right? The beauty of being a licensee is you're in your cocoon. As long as the store's paying you, you got your people, your vision. But I was saying they're going to go out of business. They just had, as Evans probably, and any department store, they had this huge cash flow happening every day. So it just keeps the machine going, right?
And it hides a lot. It hides a lot of mistakes.
Right.
For sure.
Right. So, the bank's okay. We got all this money. So now, I mean, I tell you, Scott, I the last few years I've been doing some going out of business sales in the U.S. with big liquidators like Great American, Tiger, Hilco. So I closed the Lord & Taylor store on Fifth Avenue. So this is where I believe furs has demand. Lord and Taylor store on Fifth Avenue, 10 weeks, we probably did $3.5 million of sales.
They probably didn't do that in 10 years, though.
They never had a fur department. They just had traffic those days. Then I did Barney's the following year, and it was funny. I go to Barney's. We set up at the Madison Avenue store there, and we did Boston and Chelsea. But Madison Avenue, the real Barney's customers were coming in the beginning. They go, Barney's never had this many furs. I'm like, oh, we're the global Barney's supplier. We were holding it in stock, so we have to sell it now. That's all the woman needed to hear. I never sold so many sables, chinchillas, fine minks. I mean, we did.
That was 2020.
2020, just before COVID. We did $5 million in 10 weeks.
Guys, when I closed my business, I made the decision the day the governor decided to ban the sale of furs. When he announced it, I made my decision that next day. I started my quest to go out of business.
Yeah,
I started advertising. The fact of the matter is that, there's, again, when you're going out of business, certainly in 2020, when you were going out of business in the fur industry, to me, that was the only legitimate fur sale that was run in the industry for the last 20 years. You know, right? You can't be 50% off every day on the same shit.
I was 90% off.
No. But what I'm saying is when I announced that I was going out of business, I did 30 days, because you get 90 days.
Yeah.
I did 30 days private to my customers in a mailer and gave them the first choice opportunity and a little bit of a further discount off of the original discount.
Very kind of you.
No, but what I'm saying is it starts when people see, oh shit, going out of business. Especially it wasn't a designer name, but it was one of the most, if not the most recognized name in the fur industry in America. You know what I mean? So when people say, oh shit, Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills is going out of business, I better go in there and see what they got. I did 3 years worth of business in 3 months.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was ideal. But sadly, if I would have stayed open and not said anything, I could have been out of business in the 3 months.
That's the supply and demand thing that, you had that bump in demand because they knew the supply was going to disappear.
Yeah. We need eyes on the product because our marketing strength is almost zero as a fur business now, right? If you go back to the heydays in Chicago, you'd open up a newspaper, there'd be 15 fur ads.
Yeah.
So ladies looking at the fur ads, why does Ford and Chevy and everybody else advertise still in a newspaper? Everybody knows what a fucking Ford is. They're in there every fucking day so we've lost the marketing power. Thank God the internet.
That's brand placement. They just want you to see. So when you're deciding, oh shit, I need a new car. Well, Ford, that's the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, but still, when you're getting bombarded, when you drive around town, forget the fact where I live in Vegas, when you drive around any normal town and you get bombarded with 3,000 or 5,000 branding messages a day, that's how you cut through. The second you don't run Ford every day, you stop thinking about it. So.
Right. I think the one thing I can say about the future of the fur business, based on the internet and Instagram and Facebook and all this stuff, it's really brought the fur business back because there's so much.
You know what? You're right. It's marketing. It brought it back to the young community.
Right. The girls
to the young generation.
Haley Bailey, whatever their fucking names are, she's got a fox jacket on. Oh, and then all of a sudden, you click on that, and then all of a sudden your algorithms crank up, and there's fox jackets across your thing, and I got to get a fox jacket.
Well, again, in Los Angeles, I saw this happening even a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But the thing that scared me, again, it was maybe a little bit more of the environment. that was fueling these this generation, and saying, well, I mean, I love the look of it, and I'm not killing animals because they're already, they've already been killed. So, they would appreciate it from that perspective.
You know how
I looked at the industry and said, how can you go into the used fur business? I mean, we were in a whole different, we were in the fashion industry, is the way I looked at it.
Yeah, but that
And,
changed.
and again, inevitably, a woman brings you a trade-in on a size 8, beautiful mink coat, and the woman that wants to buy it is a size 14.
Right.
So you can't remake it for her. It costs too much money to invest in making that coat bigger, So it was like, I totally said, this is not the answer for me. I mean, that would be too stressful. And then recognizing the business wasn't great to begin with.
But $2,000 or $3,000 is inexpensive in the world of fashion.
Well, I mean, like Evan's goal was always to create for the classes and sell to the masses.
Right.
So that meant producing, the right fashion,
right.
in the right product.
And you also at Evans, you also had the marketing power to create a beaver coat, like Jimmy said, the Chicago coat.
Right.
I said, no, the Chicago coat. I don't have one of those. All right, and you were selling them $9.99. They were approachable prices. They weren't like, Fendi. Fendi's looking for a Lynx belly stroller, $480,000. They're not.
You have to kill off the whole lynx population to get all that.
But I'll tell you, when I because I'm doing this, I'm getting like the algorithms know what you're doing. So I get a lot of fur things thrown at me on YouTube and shit. And there are these young girls all over the place in chinchillas, just like you said, in sables and lynx bellies. It's like that is clearly like the chic thing for these people.
Well, it is just like it's just like the hip hop generation.
Yeah.
When the hip hop, when they came out, again, it's people with money and disposable income. These guys came out, these rappers came out, and they had to have fur coats. That was part of their video, their look. That was part of their looks. And all of a sudden, you didn't have to be a rapper. You just had to be in that generation and want to look like a rapper. And you had a whole new business.
I've known forever, nobody needs a fur coat per se.
Right.
They have to want the fur coat.
That is so true. There's a question I've been thinking about asking you. When you took over when you purchased the Evans stores, those locations from Evans, did you put new management in, or did you keep pretty much the management that was in the store?
For like maybe the first 12 months, we probably kept almost everybody there.
Just to go through them?
Just to, keep it
consistent.
rolling.
For the transition, yeah.
For the transition. Yeah. I mean, that's over 20 years ago. So I was much more active.
I'll tell you the reason I ask, because I go back to Evans. Evans was a superhero or a superpower because of one of the things you just said, our ability to promote, our ability to advertise. We were we had our own advertising company within the company.
Yeah, but can I add to that though, Larry? And guys, you can answer this too. However, we were really bad at managing our company. You know what I mean? Like, like Barry tells the story of, I don't know, it wasn't Lenny Tax, it was somebody else.
By the way, Barry's now.
Well, like Barry told this story about how somebody wanted to buy us, and then they walked into the 14th floor and saw that we have 30 people in accounting to count shit, and he couldn't get out the door fast enough. So, there were these things.
You were a little heavy.
But you want to know something? I think that's why I asked that question, because times and things change. Because the one thing that I do, I mean, I had the blessing of entering the fur business in 1977 when it was strong and just rising. You know what I mean? And I came into the merchandising with Jimmy. You know, the two of us, we were
Jimmy started in 77?
No,
I
Jimmy was
started
there
in
before.
1968.
Yeah, he was there before.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Just a baby.
Jimmy was born in the Yorktown store. At that time, we had women's lingerie. Jimmy was born in women's lingerie.
Are you kidding?
No,
No,
but
but
also
my point is,
I started in 77 too as Ricky O's stock boy.
yeah.
No, but
one of the
here's
things,
my
guys,
point.
Oh, I met Mike Riccio too.
Yeah.
His gun went off in my showroom once.
That wasn't his gun.
Oh, you're the one who went.
One of the
I know
other
that
things-
story.
Final episode of the Skin on Skin companion podcast series.
I'm sure it's not necessary for me to tell you that going public imposes a new obligation on all of us, and especially on you as a lease department manager.
We're not really in the used coat business 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but today it's predominant that we have a lot of used coats.
in Cleveland, I used to say, this stuff smells. Why does it smell so bad?
You explained your dream, and then it was the salesman's job to go and find it in that vault.
And even the very first time I stepped on the floor as a trainee in Chicago, you knew more than the customer 99% of the time.
In New York, the manufacturing level of talent was amazing, of guys running great businesses.
I was 19 years old, and I think I was more responsible, you know, toward the Evans Fur Company. I had more consideration than he did.
Well, because it's and your reputation's on the line every time you do something.
Paul Becker was in the audience, and before you know, my father and Paul were having a good conversation. Got pretty loud back and forth.
I cut it up into choir, and you put it in Melodyne and made the different harmonies and stuff. I did that.
What new restaurant was in town? And as long as they were there, well, you know, look at this, I have something to show you.
I'm sitting on the toilet and it's 7:30 and he's calling me going, where are you? Why are you not here?
Huge things and changes are afoot, as we shall tell you. But you know what?
That Evans did, guys, that you're missing is they trained their managers and people.
Tremendous.
Because a lot of the people that when Evans went out of business and went to work for BC, they worked for BC from 1999 to 2017 when they closed all those stores. Most of those people were still working there after 17 years with Chris.
They were professionals.
No, but here was my point, was that we came in at a time in like 1977. We were working in the merchandising part, in the buying and you know, distribution of the furs. Okay. It's not about how much money. We started taking over department stores, taking over those people that worked in the department stores. And it became, we were just buying somebody else's business. In our times, what I was used to, it was making profit. When we would go in, you say that we were tough merchants, right? We'd go into you, we would buy 100 coats at $1,000. We'd agree to a term and say 100 coats at $1,000. When those coats came in, Jimmy and I mean, the first things that I know I was taught was you go through those 100 coats And you're going to have our plan. When we bought it, it was already, we were promotional. Our plan is that we're going to buy that coat for $1,000. We're going to land it for $1,150, and we're going to sell that coat. We're going to mark that coat $29.99 and sell it for $19.99 on sale. Okay, all of those factors were already generated to buy this. But here's the key: when we got the 100 coats, all of them were worthy of being sold at the $29.99 and $19.99 price level. The way we made money was we took 5% of them were cripples. All right. Those were marked down to sell first at the $19.99 or $24.99. Get those out of the way. Then there was 10% of them that actually were inspected by you guys, not us, and they were the best coats. You know what I mean? That 10%, those were worth $49.99.
Yeah, but we had to teach them how to inspect coats properly.
Well, because we were, well, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
and sorry, Jimmy, we had those seminars at the $1 Million Saloon.
Jimmy would inspect one coat and we'd be off to the airport.
Right? Remember, Jimmy would go home sometimes with a pocket full of ones. He got so pissed off when the Looney came out because now it was a $2 tip.
We were talking about professionalism. What's the professionalism state of the people selling furs today compared to the old days?
I have to tell you, right now, because I'm now in the second generation of the time I've owned the business, very hard to find people. First of all, they have no history. Evans, the odd person we find, they used to train them for 6 to 8 months before they'd let them out into the stores. That was a tremendous difference. Now, we're so hungry for people. We throw them on a sales floor. Hopefully the manager is hovering around to help the situation. We don't have qualified Evans type salespeople, middle management, certainly no upper management. It's just us now.
Even factory people, there's barely any.
Oh yeah, the factory is the worst.
So then obviously, right? It flows from the bottom up, right? So then how do you get the proper information to know what you need to have in there to try and sell? And it's broken from the bottom, you know what I mean?
Fortunately now, systems, in our business, I can only speak for our business, we have a pretty sophisticated inventory system. Can track sales daily. We can track them by style. We can see what's selling, see what's in stock, see what's sold. So I'm comfortable on that with me running the show because I visually know every piece we're selling since I'm almost buying 100% of the pieces.
Yeah, but in the words of Freddie Handel, it's not only you can see what you're selling because you have that inventory.
Right.
You need somebody with eyes that sees what the customers are asking for that you don't have, and being able to communicate that
That's
back.
kind of what I'm asking. Like you can get that information from Michelle, but who else is there? How many Michelles are there these days?
I think the problem is, we're fortunate in the number of stores. We still have some, I have a retail store in Toronto. The people are 74 years old. They've been working for me for 25 years. They know what's going on. They can tell me I'm missing this, I'm missing that, the classic. However, I think you've got to, we're short of people and we don't have, again, it goes back to money. Everything goes back to money in a business. We don't have the time to say, okay, come work for me for a year and just putter around and learn, right? And take them to, a factory, a farm, this, that, now I just throw, I have some I've had a couple of great sales associates, have no idea about fur, but they sell the hell out of it if a customer comes in, but there's not the background that we all had, right? And our salespeople all had, like an Ortiz, and
it's the way of the world today is they just throw people to the wolves, like Larry and I spent a couple of hours on one of these talking about, the training that they put us through, which we did nothing but we goofed on it back then. But But boy, we were prepared when we came out the other
Yeah.
end, and they
And
made professionals out of us.
I mean, I had a lot of Evans sales associates, because I don't call them management. But when we took over the stores, it was all Evans people. I don't think they let people on the floor that hadn't been trained properly.
Yes,
No, I
because
think at the end,
even today, Diane Jones and like Mark Pasternak, all these other people, they're in different businesses, like selling furniture, and they're very successful because they're using what they had at Evans, selling furniture.
Well, and I was about to say, like with salespeople, with a person that has a selling ability, once all you have to do is teach them about the product, and they can apply it to their shtick. You know what I mean? And become a great salesman of that product. You know, and I don't know. I actually,
I don't know how many more
back,
people there are like that. I think there's so many fewer people like that, though, Larry. Even
because no one's
young
been
people,
trained in the last 5-7 years.
If you didn't,
Well,
if you
I
didn't
just-
learn
I
it
just
yourself
wonder-
on your smartphone growing up, you don't have that knowledge or know-how.
well, I just wonder in this virtual world that we've entered into, if it even matters anymore. I mean, brick and mortar itself, I think, is going to be disposed of almost completely.
Let me tell you a quick story. Peter and I got into the boutique food business 20
I
years
remember.
ago, right? So when we got into it and we started, learning about where are we buying the product, this and that, we go to this Italian distributor. I remember where he goes, come to the warehouse one day. We go to the warehouse full of, pasta, sauce. We go to the guy, do you have any closeouts? He goes, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, shit that you're not selling. Do you have any closeouts? He goes, I got some stuff that expires in 6
Short
months,
dates, yeah.
but nobody wants it. I said, we'll take it. What's the price? That was a pure.
It's like you went through the Evans training program.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, so they call that you bought short date stuff.
Right. We put it in our store. We mark it, we bought it instead of $5, we bought it for $1. We marked it at $8 and we made a big buck on it.
Yeah. Again, that's merchandising. That's merchandising. And I think through the guise of the computer reports, you sort of lose some of that.
No, unless you're like, for me, I find it because, like I said, I'm probably buying 90%. Like I go to Greece, I go through people's inventory, I find 20 pieces. I remember each piece. When you're in, like as well as I do, Larry and Jimmy, you visualize everything you've fucking handled, right?
Yeah.
So once that happens, then I'm really capable of seeing the stuff as it's selling, right? Like, when you have multiple stores, as your old managers probably said, why did you send me this? We're never going to sell it. And you're like, just put it on the fucking floor. And they'd sell it. I have that still with people. Like, I can't sell this. Just put it on the sales floor. All of a sudden, sold. Unfortunately, our managers aren't fashion icons. They're not fur icons. So it's difficult, running without people that are superstars.
You know what? We say it's difficult, but I don't think the customers are fashion icons anymore
Oh
either.
no, that's at the heart of the problem. Is we used to have high-end couture fashion and this low-end shit, and then there was something in between, and the something in between is gone.
And the customer is different too, though, Scott, because the customer, when we first started, before we really were in the retail business, women would come in, first of all, in our little factory retail business that we had as a sideline before we started getting into retail seriously, they would say, I don't want to buy a coat in stock. I want you to make me a coat.
Yeah.
Now I say to women, we'll make you it. They go like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm like,
yeah, custom made.
What's wrong with you?
Well, no, they want instant gratification to walk out with it.
Yeah.
Well, and in our time, it was the custom-made nature. Jimmy, do you remember we ran these promotions in the summertime to remodel your mink stole into a line ultra suede, right?
Ultra suede.
Wait, so now we got to the point where we said, Jesus Christ, the labor. That's when we started doing business in the Orient.
Right.
And we would say, Jesus Christ, the labor to take that woman's coat of mink stole or jacket apart was more money than constructing a new body in China.
Right.
And we say, all right, wait, why don't we just, and we can open up, we can offer different colors. I remember selling that shit, and customers would say, they come in with a pastel mink stole, and they would say, I don't wear it anymore. And we'd sell them that thing, and they'd be on the edge, and they'd say, you know what? If I was to have a piece like that, I'd really want it to be black. We said, well, we could dye it for you.
And Mike Ortiz used to do that in Dallas. She'd bring in a white jacket. She goes, I really want to buy. We'll have it ready
he
for
learned
you.
that from
and that was another $200
or more.
He learned that from Jerry Dupler, Mike Ortiz.
Yeah. Well, again, we were all trained under that generation.
I also met the Dupler son. He was
Larry?
Oh God. But he did really great. He got into the strip joint business. You see, he not only visited him, he invested in him.
Well, he was always a hands-on guy.
We ended up buying Dupler first too. I've consolidated in our U.S. business so many independent stores because the way to survive now is to consolidate for storage, right? So you pick up a guy got 1,000 coats, you got 3,000 coats in the same town. Costs you nothing to consolidate. So that's the business approach to business today.
Where are the other opportunities in the business today?
The biggest opportunity, Scott, that we have the biggest successes. I mean, we have stores, few and very good retail locations. We had the top 2 Washington locations closed after COVID. Hotel events, you go for 3 days, do 250 grand, 200 grand, 150 grand.
I got a question as it relates to hotel sales, because in the old days, the way to promote a hotel sale was blasting the newspapers for a couple of days.
The radio.
Do you do newspapers still?
No. Not at all.
No more newspaper.
A bit of TV and radio.
We're still using the disappearing furs ad.
It's our biggest fur sale of the year. Robinson's annual Beverly Hilton Hotel Fur Sale. We're out to sell $10 million worth of furs at savings to you of 50%. So if you've had the notion to buy a fur, don't hesitate now, because when they're gone, they're gone. Robinson's annual Beverly Hilton Hotel Fur Sale. $10 million worth of fabulous furs at 50% off. This Sunday only, 9 to 6.
Well, the newspapers are nothing today. Nobody even gets a newspaper.
They're defined. You know what? I have a friend here that wanted to see the New York Post. And I see in the grocery store, they sell the New York Post. So I bought it. I picked it up and I bought. How much do you think a New York Post is today?
$4.
Yeah. It's $4 You know why? They went from a circulation of 4 million to 4 people. Right? So they got to get their $16 vig every day. It's crazy.
Same in Toronto, the Toronto Star, which was the icon newspaper. I mean, on the weekend, it's $3.50, I think.
That's it. Who needs
Well, that's the weekend. I'm talking about a daily. The Post doesn't even have a weekend paper.
A daily, they don't even put one out.
Yeah.
Chicago,
it's like 3 pages.
A Sunday Chicago Tribune is $4 now, and it's nothing.
Wow.
Look, I ran a GOB sale for 120 days. I did get my best result from the LA Times, but I didn't place one ad. They did a whole front cover story on the closing of Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills. And it was, I created it because they interviewed me along with other furriers right before the vote was to take place in Sacramento. And I was actually the only one that said, they asked, do you think?
I can tell you about LA since you're out for a while.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Donna
Pappas
and Michael. She just closed. She's been selling for the last 3 years. She goes, Harry, the last year, I've never sold so much fur.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, I want to buy a fur coat. I want to buy a fur coat. And so the easy way around it, she taught me a good trick. She goes, you're allowed to sell vintage.
Right.
In LA. So she goes, it was on the runway. It's vintage.
Well, I've seen their collection. It is vintage.
Don't put your personal feelings into it.
No, let me tell you something. Here's the bottom line. I was the only one that said, when they said, what are you going to do if they do pass it? I said, I'm going out of business. Everybody else says, oh, we'll sell black market, we'll sell gray market. You guys know me. I'm not that guy.
Why were you so emphatic about it, Larry?
Because I'm not that guy. You know, I don't want to be, I didn't want to rush to, you know, and also I don't want somebody saying, oh, today's the day you got to close. You know, I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight with these people at the end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There was such a small piece of business in Los Angeles to begin with.
Well, that's why I always say this. You know, politicians, as we well know from the situation in the U.S., they pass a law one morning, the next morning it's not happening.
Well, they tried to do that in Chicago, you know,
and New York.
Everywhere.
Tried to
Do it. I
failed.
like this. Do it. It's like when I would show up for a hotel event in a city, and some guy would show up and say, "Oh, you don't have a license." And I go, "Okay." You go, "We're gonna fine you." I go, "Okay, what's the fine?" $100. Okay, I do $100 grand worth of business. I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Right, it's a cost of doing business.
Right, and I think when fur became outlawed, and I'll be honest, I'd very much like to do a hotel event in a year and a half there, as I envision things.
I bet you a pent up demand.
People are eager to buy when it might be a little wrong. And what are they going to do? They can't shut you down. You know, you got to know the bylaws, right? Like, okay, you're selling fur, we're going to have to fine you or warn you or something. But you're not going to shut me down when I'm at the Beverly, Wilshire or someplace, right? People are going to.
Yes, they will.
The people with the illegal weed stores get away with it for months and months and months.
Exactly.
So.
That's what I keep saying.
No, but they would shut you down in LA.
What are they going to send the police?
Yes.
No way. I guarantee you. I would do a test.
That's not happening.
I did well, actually, it was because of picketers that, you know, there were people picketing a sale that I did outside of the store. I called it a sale so big we couldn't accommodate it. We couldn't accommodate it in the store. So I went to a small hotel room. No,
I had a lady get chased by a picketer once. I called the police. The cops were there. I said, "Did you fucking see this? The guy's assaulting the woman." I was, "What do you want me to do?" I'm like, "Do something." This is, you know, if it was a black guy jumping on a white girl, you'd have been all over the poor fucker.
That's true. That is true.
So we also have to show some.
All right, wait. So I got to ask you a question. You got two guys, Scott and I, and Jimmy also. We would do events like the Evans did events. We did the Drake Hotel. We did $1 million in a day.
Oh, those were
different. We did Los Angeles, the Beverly Hilton. Yeah. We did millions of dollars in a weekend. Right. If that sale was run today in Los Angeles, you could support the merchandise because we had thousands of furs. Do you think that you could do millions of dollars in a 2-day event?
Millions, but I think you could do 300,000 or 400,000.
I think the Beverly Hilton charged us that.
And it was worth every
penny. That was
because
you had an executive.
Well, if you're doing $2 million, it is.
No, you know, listen, I'm telling you, we're doing a hotel event. We do hotel events. It's a big part of our business. We go to, I mean, you guys know Potomac in D.C. Find a nice hotel. 200 grand in 3 days. No problem. The hotel costs you 10 grand, advertising 20 grand. You're making big money.
Well, that was my business at Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills for the first couple of years. Right. I had no brick and mortar. It was all trunk shows and caravans.
So that can still happen. It still happens. And I tell you why it works better. Customers don't like coming to a store, a fur store. We're still intimidated.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is the ladies like coming. we own Garden House in DC, which is one of the oldest brands, right?
Yeah.
We run a Garden House hotel sale. Ladies come, sit down to pay for it, and they go, "Do you have a store?" We're like, "No, we're Garden House. We're on fucking in Bethesda." "Oh yeah, I didn't know who's having the sale. I just came because I saw there's a first sale. I don't want to buy something." So I think, the perception of fur, I wanted to make that point earlier, Scott. When a lady used to buy a fur coat, when I first started selling family and fur coat, the husband would come with the woman. They'd make a purchase decision, maybe that day, maybe tomorrow. And it would be a big milestone, buying a mink coat.
Yep.
Okay. Now, and what kind of mink? Is it female? Is it male? Is it American? Is it black llama? Now a woman comes in. I'm still work the sales floor. She just comes in. "What's this?" "Mink." "Oh, mink. Oh, I like it." Done. Doesn't ask. Is it female? Is it male?
The whole diamond thing is gone.
Well, right. The luxury aspect of fur is gone.
That's why I think chinchilla and sable and all that stuff, it stands out from the rest.
You don't have to know anything to see that it's nicer than everything else.
Right. But there's none of this, and customers used to ask us, I'm sure everybody knows, how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
Now they're like, I don't give a fuck. I like it today.
Well, I think that's why this young generation, they're not going to be involved in the service end of the business.
No, the service is going to fade over the next 5-10 years. It's going to be very difficult for service.
Yeah, because they don't care about it. It's disposable to them.
The only good part of service is repairs, right? Because there's nowhere to fix a coat.
Well,
I see in our businesses, people are like, "Oh, I've been looking for somewhere to fix my coat." Because there's not furriers left either. You got to remember, it's not only the business shrank, the furriers shrank.
What kid in this generation coming up now, coming out of school, what kid wants to become, do a laborious job?
Well, not just that. The FIT has having enough of a time getting people to just come there to learn fashion and fashion construction, let alone furs. So.
We're trying, and of course, what Trump preaches is not happening. We're like, we want to bring skilled people here, train some people, and start making some coats. And even the remodel business is huge for us.
Well, you may get them in Canada because he ain't letting them come to America.
Well, and the problem is we've got one fellow that we're working on. We've spent 20 grand on proper papers. He's through the system, and it's just like moribund. Like nothing, it's like, okay, he's good for this, he's good for this, he's good for this. Like, let us bring the guy. We'll hire 3 more people so he can teach them. Because the average age, we got a finisher in our Kansas City store. She's like 81 years old.
Wow. What so what do you, just as you reflect on this and think about where the business has gone and everything, like Peter and Harry, we're all legacy people on this call. So what would your dad think about the state of all of this now compared to what he worked in?
Well, he wouldn't believe it could get so bad. I don't think, like all of us. We entered the business in the mid 80s when it was just on a roll. It had already been on a roll. We just got into it in a major manufacturing way at that time. But yeah, even for him or for me, it's really unbelievable that there's so few people left in the industry and there's so few retailers, and all of the department stores have wrapped up for one reason or another. And it's become this little micro retail business that you can still make a good living on and make some money. But yeah, it's hard to believe that it could be. And a guy named Marty Kelman, back in the early 80s, we took over his space. He had a longtime family business manufacturing in Toronto.
They were maybe the largest in Canada.
Yeah, called Kelman Furs. And his father started the business, and he was in it also, but they ended up going bankrupt in the early 80s. And he used to tell us a story. He goes, Peter and Harry, I know it's very exciting now, and you will never believe that something could go wrong, but I'm here firsthand to tell you, as great as it is today, it can get very bad very fast. And he was right. The business went on a huge tailspin in the late 80s, as we all know. And the 90s were kind of flat, but there was still, the business compared to today was gigantic in the 90s compared to then. But and his dad lost his house. He was in the 70s at that time, in the early 80s. And he goes, my dad, we lived in Forest Hill, a very beautiful area of Toronto, high end. They used to call it the White House. Now they call it the Banks House. And that's Marty. We took over his space and we had a great run where he was. And the rest is history. But yeah.
Harry, how many GOBs happen each year? How many GOBs are you doing every year?
That's a great question.
I'm really not interested in Jew being first stores. Like my goal.
How much is happening?
I was begging to do the Hudson Bay closing. They just closed the stores last week, and I was making a deal fine in the beginning. I think Canadian courts and bankruptcies are different than American courts and bankruptcies. So like Hilco and Tiger, these guys were like, yeah, we want to do it because they've got a history with me. I mean, they're making huge money when they let me in. But it got very muddled because of the courts. If I will give you my prediction. If I'd have done 10 stores, I'd have they had 80 stores, the Bay. They're all closed. Imagine the wipeout. I'd have picked maybe the 6 to 8 best stores, right? I think I would have done 15, maybe $20 million in 8 weeks, because all you need is people walking by to buy something.
Yes.
They look for it's eyes. We don't get eyes on our product. I see when we're in our hotel events, 3 girls come in, one is coming in to buy, the other 2 end up buying something because they never knew what fur is, because customers don't even know what fur is anymore.
Yeah.
Right? They don't even have a clue. I'll tell you, Scott, earlier you mentioned Lenny Tax. So Lenny Tax used to say something 25 years ago, because we would discuss that the business is shrinking, and it was shrinking 25 years ago. So I'd go, Lenny, the business, he goes, Harry, listen. He goes, it's a dinosaur of a business. It's shrinking. He goes, but you know what? There's still one guy making buggy whips, and he's still really busy. That's going to be us, he goes.
And he was right.
No, look, A.L. Meltzer started Evans in 1929, the year of the crash. So that's what I always remember.
No, the storage business can continue without a retail front, and then you keep selling. I mean, listen, we all know the fur business has always been a bit of a mashugana business. Now, I'm telling you, within 2 years, economics is going to say, let's take a Saks group, right? They're going to go, okay, well, this guy, BC, used to sell $100 million a year. We used to skim from that because it was licensed, $22 million a year skim. What the fuck?
Just giving up space.
A space that they have.
Yeah.
Right? So why the hell aren't we getting $22 million, which would pay for, I don't know, what in the scope of things? And economics is going to come back into it, because money at the end of the day is all that matters. When we got back in, as a very good example, and Peter remembers, when we took over the Bay license, the Bay was out of the fur business in the 90s. They said, we're out of the fur business. We're kind of worried about it. They were a cocksucker company from the beginning, pardon my language. They brought in 2 American guys, as CEO and assistant.
Ira Piquel and Bob Buchanan.
Big guys in the storage business.
We got a personal meeting with them.
Yeah. They go, so why aren't we selling fur? I go, I don't know, sir. The guys before you don't want to sell fur. He's like, and we did an event. He goes, do an event. We did an event. We did like, I don't know, $80,000 in a day. He's like, okay, open up. That's it.
Yeah, we're selling furs again.
Well, that's what I
think. But I want to tell you, if you go on the websites of the current shows, they're showing the new fall collections in a lot of them. A lot of them are shearling, shaded like mink. No, shaded like a mink. So they cut stripes of shearling so they look like it's like a, you know, a mink with a dark gratzen on the back. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, are these people? So their customers want something that's fur-like, but they're not getting fur.
I'm thinking the same sort of thing. I just wonder, you know how you hear stories, not only in the fur business, in any business, where like, you know, the father runs the business and he grows the business, then this next generation takes over and runs it into the ground. I wonder if our, you know, fathers would take into account the economic conditions, the environment conditions. I mean, we do have global warming, the anti-fur movement, you know, all of these things, or would they think that we were the ones that fucked it up?
Well, look at
a bit of half and both, right?
Statistically, second and third generation business owners have a huge failure rate. So, you know,
That's
if they
what I'm
looked at the
saying.
numbers, that's what they would think. So, all right, let me let everybody go. Thank you so much, guys. This was really special. Thank you for your time.